Hey movie lovers. Today I'm going to explain a 2020 horror thriller film called Captive. Spoilers ahead. The film begins with a girl named Lily who tells her story about the harsh treatment. Lily said that in the past she always got rough treatment from her father, which made her decide to run away from home. Lily, who was still a teenager, then fled to the forest with her boyfriend, Neil. But not long after she left, she already felt guilty to her mother for leaving the house and intended to call her. But Neil grabbed her phone and kept it. He told Lily to calm her mind first. Neil then started fondling Lily's shoulders and waist. Lily looked uncomfortable, but Neil didn't care until he saw the bruises on her body. He looked surprised to see the bruises on his girlfriend's body. It turned out that Lily had never told Neil that her father was very easy on her, especially when he was drunk. Shortly after, Lily and Neil continued their journey into the forest and decided to spend the night there. Neil asked Lily to set up a tent while looking for water and firewood. However, after hours of waiting for Neil who never returned, Lily began to feel afraid and anxious to be in the woods alone. She meant to call her mother, but she forgot that her phone was with her boyfriend. Lily ends up spending the night alone that night.
Neil!
The next day, Lily decided to look for Neil in the forest. She continued into the forest and heard a wolf howl. Suddenly, she immediately ran helter-skelter in no direction. Luckily, she saw a house in the middle of the forest and rushed to the house to ask for help. She knocked impatiently on the door. Not long after, an old man opened the door and ushered her into his house. The man seemed familiar with Lily's presence because he immediately told her to take a shower. Lily, who was suspicious of the man, then left the house in a hurry. But the man immediately chased after her and blocked her steps.
What do you want from me?
I want you to come inside so we can try to have a normal conversation. Inside now.
Okay.
Come on, you come.
Still traumatized by her father's harsh treatment, Lily finally complied with the man for fear that he would hurt her. But one thing was odd. The man shouted and treated Lily like the treatment of a father who loves his daughter very much. Because Lily kept fighting and rebelling against him, the man then took Lily to the basement and locked her in there in the hope that she would reflect on her mistake.
There, get in and think about it.
Let me out, you psycho!
Lily became increasingly suspicious that the man was a psychopath, especially after finding a newspaper clipping about missing people pasted on the basement wall. She looked for something she could use as a weapon and found a hammer in the toolbox. But when Lily was about to take the hammer,
What are you doing?
the man suddenly appeared and said to her that he came to apologize to her for being rude and asking her to go upstairs. But because Lily rummaged through his belongings, the man finally punished her by increasing her confinement in the basement and locking the basement with a digital key. Not long after, the man brought Lily dinner. The man again apologized to her for leaving her alone in the basement. He said it softly and earnestly. Lily, who was already scared and kept crying, immediately refused his request. But then the man snapped at Lily and smashed the plate he was carrying against the wall.
What's going on? Don't touch me! Find my boyfriend!
You just do as I say!
Leave me alone!
What is the matter with you?
Seeing Lily screaming in fear, the man again apologized to her and strangely, he then told Lily to exercise on the treadmill and left her there. At nightfall, the man is seen busy closing all the fences around his house and locking it using chains. The man was reading the newspaper on the terrace outside the house in the morning. The newspaper shows the news of two teenagers who disappeared with a photo of Neil and Lily plastered there. But the man didn't read it and instead put away his newspaper and moved from his place to go to Lily, who kept making noise in the room. The man then told Lily that she should have rested because it was Sunday and she had to go back to training the next day to win the championship. After saying that, he then left Lily there again. That night, Lily again remembered her father who had treated her harshly. However, the melodious tinkling of the piano played by the man upstairs was able to calm Lily in her uncertain situation. After the piano playing ended, The man brought a soft mattress, so Lily could sleep comfortably in the room, and even brought a doll to accompany her. The next day, the man rolled out a rug and made Lily lie down on the floor. Lily thought that the man would pervert her, but apparently he told her to do sit-ups by holding her leg. Lily, who rarely does sports, seems to have difficulty doing sit-ups, but the men continued to encourage her until then.
Yes!
Even though the man fell on the floor, but he didn't bother Lily. He even said softly to Lily that he would take her upstairs and serve her delicious food if she did sit-ups according to his orders. Lily began to consider obeying the man's orders as a way out of escaping from here.
And two, I made you something special.
After doing sit-ups, the man kept his promise to Lily. He took Lily upstairs and served her a delicious dinner. Even he seemed happy and treated her so special. Before eating, the man told Lily to pray and called her Catherine. Lily began to think that it turned out that he had always thought of herself as his daughter, Catherine. The next day, after the man told Lily to change clothes and train on the treadmill as usual, someone came knocking on the door. It turned out that the guest was Jeff, the man's younger brother. Jeff visited his brother and began to feel strange about his brother's smiling attitude. Jeff then asked if his brother was still regularly taking medication from the doctor. But the man admitted that he had stopped drinking because he felt better and said that Catherine had come home. Jeff's words were just passing by. He said goodbye to his brother and hurried away from there. Lily finally came out of the room and now occupied Catherine's room. Day by day, as long as she obeys the man's wishes, she is treated very well by him as his own daughter. Lily was no longer locked in the basement that could wear whatever clothes were in Catherine's wardrobe. Lily finds a photo of Catherine and it is revealed that Catherine is a runner at her school. She also found Catherine's diary under the girl's bed and intended to read it sometime. But Lily is still trying to keep running away from the house. One time, she was sneaking out of there while the man was in the kitchen.
Hey,
Oh, hey.
where are you going?
Lily, who panicked, then replied that she was looking for him and wanted to help him in the kitchen. The man seemed happy and they ended up cooking together. After cooking, Lily tried to find an excuse to go out to get some fresh air, but the gentleman's gentle demeanor disappeared and sent Lily back to the room. Lily, who didn't know what to do when she was in the room, finally read Catherine's diary. In the diary, Catherine wrote down all her feelings. She told about her strict father and often told her to train with discipline because he wanted her to become a professional athlete. It is also mentioned that her parents often quarreled in front of her. Not only that, her father also forbade her to date so that she could focus on her education and training. Lily's reading stopped because the man suddenly came into the room to tell her to eat, but Lily soon got an idea. She pretended she was on her period and asked him to buy her a pad. The man looked confused and worried because he had not driven his car in a long time, but Lily kept begging until finally the man granted Lily's wish. Before leaving, he told Lily to practice and locked her in the basement. In the basement, Lily resumed reading Catherine's diary, but the man turned out to be back quickly and Lily was frantically changing clothes and splashed water on her shirt as if she was sweating after doing a workout on the treadmill. But before entering the house, the man was approached by someone riding a motorbike. That person was Neil, who was asking the man where Lily was. But the man immediately kicked Neil out violently because he thought Neil would disturb his daughter. The man entered the house and immediately gave Lily a sanitary napkin while blabbering that he also stopped by the pharmacy to buy medicine. Lily looked worried for fear that her disguise would be exposed if he started taking medicine and recovered. When Lily was about to leave the basement,
We'll break you.
the man suddenly grabbed her arm and asked who she went with while running away from home. Lily then replied that she had gone with Jared. Jared was the name of Catherine's boyfriend she had read about in the girl's diary. Hearing Jared's name, the man got angry and asked Lily to measure her height on the wall with a yelling tone. Lily had to stand on tiptoe to not be caught because Catherine was taller than her. Lily, who annoyed because she was constantly told to do this, finally vented her anger by attacking the man and beating him hard.
You know, it's just a complete waste of freaking time.
Psycho!
Lily rushed to escape from the basement, but unfortunately the door was locked. She then asked the man for the key. The man is still lying on the floor in pain. The man pretended to hand Lily the keys and suddenly, he then snapped at Lily loudly and said how she could do that to her father who loves her so much. Later that night, Lily went back to reading Catherine's diary and found a torn newspaper about the news of the accident that killed Catherine's mother. Lily then felt sorry for the man after learning of the tragic tragedy. The man again called Lily to dinner upstairs. He was still being nice to Lily, even though Lily had hurt him. For some reason Lily felt sorry for him and then apologized. The man forgave Lily sincerely. As usual, they always say a prayer before eating. This time the man thanks God for bringing his daughter back home, and he promises to love her forever. Hearing this prayer, Lily was touched and sorry for him who always thought of her as Catherine. The days went by and Lily got used to living her life as Catherine. Lily even wrote down her experiences while at the man's house in Catherine's diary and practiced cheerfully without coercion. Lily was finally allowed to run around the house. She had even called the man father.
Get distracted! That's it! Come on, put the pace on! One more lap! Come on!
At one point, she saw an opportunity to escape. She continued to run fast through the woods around the house.
No, wait, Catherine? No, Catherine! Catherine! Please, no, don't leave! No!
The man said to her not to leave him again. They had a fight until finally a terrible incident occurred. Lily injured her ankle.
Oh no! Oh.
After the incident, the man took care of Lily wholeheartedly with all his love, making her feel happy and promised that she would train harder when she recovered. The healing period was full of warmth and affection.
71. 72.
Lily then responded by training so hard that her running record and sit-ups exceeded Catherine's record. The two of them grew closer as time went on. One day, the man told Lily that it was her birthday soon and asked what kind of birthday gift she wanted. Lily replied that whatever his gift was she would gladly accept it. The man wanted to register Lily in a running race. Lily seemed excited to hear the idea and then asked him to take a selfie together like a real father and daughter. The man then gave a kiss on her forehead as a lullaby. Lily feels very comfortable and happy to be in this house. The next day, the man gave Lily a surprise gift and told her that he was going to town to buy a birthday cake. Lily got a cell phone as a birthday present. She then rushed to save Neil's phone number, and intended to call him to come to pick her up immediately. She then came out of the house and ran somewhere. The man returned to his house soon and found someone already at his door. It turned out that who had come was the real Catherine, who had been somewhere else. But the man remained casual. Catherine then entered the room and felt something strange as if someone had been occupying her room all this time. And when she checked her diary and read it to the last page she wrote, she was very surprised that someone continued her writing. The person also poured all her feelings and experiences into the diary. But then, Lily suddenly appeared in Catherine's room with a different attitude. Lily told Catherine that she was considered Catherine and would stay here while she was gone. Lily then said she slept in this room, put her clothes on, and surpassed her running and sit-up records. The frightened Catherine then began to cry and told to leave. But Lily instead felt annoyed with Catherine's attitude. She then cornered Catherine with a series of questions about her sudden and heartbreaking departure from her father 3 years after the accident that killed her mother. Lily then said that she was the one who treated her father's longing for his daughter all this time. Lily regretted Catherine's decision to leave her father who loved his daughter so much and told her that she might never know what it was like to have a father who constantly abused his own daughter like her father. Suddenly, Lily accidentally killed Catherine with a kitchen knife she was carrying. She felt very shocked by what happened, but she had made up her mind to be fully Catherine. The man then called Lily to blow the birthday cake. But Lily instead asked Catherine's father to go for a walk with her. In the car, Lily deletes Neil's phone number because now, she has decided to be completely Catherine for the sake of her father who always loved her. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more video like this. Thanks for watching this video until the end, and see you in the next video.